friends. I wanted to give you a fun idea today. Two of my favorite things in life are baking and my dog. So today we're going to use your math skills together to be able to make some fun dog treats while we're practicing some of our math skills. So what you're going to do first is you're going to get out all of your ingredients. You need pumpkin, coconut oil, water, flour, cinnamon, baking soda, baking powder, and eggs. That's only 8 ingredients, and I bet they're all things that you have at home. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have to use your fraction skills because we need 1/2 of a cup of pumpkin. So I'm going to go look for my 1/2 cup measurement. Now I know 1/2 is 1 of 2 parts of a whole. So I'm looking for my measuring cup that shows 1 of 2 parts of my whole. So I'm going to measure out 1/2 of a cup of pumpkin. I'm going to fill this cup all the way up so that I get a full 1/2 cup. And that's the first thing I'm going to put in my mixing bowl is 1/2 of a cup of pumpkin. Now next, we're going to have to use a smaller measurement. We're going to use tablespoons. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get 2 tablespoons of melted coconut oil. So I have my 1 tablespoon measure, and I'm going to count out and measure 1 and 2. So now we have 1/2 of a cup of pumpkin and 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. Now the next thing we're going to add is 4 tablespoons of water. So we're going to have to use those counting skills again. See how math pops up everywhere in the kitchen? So I want you to count with me. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 tablespoons of water. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mix together those first 3 ingredients. You could use a whisk or a spatula and get those all mixed together. Those are our wet ingredients. Now next we're going to add our dry ingredients. So the first thing we're going to add is we're going to have to add 2 cups of flour. That means we're going to have to count again. So this time I need my 1 cup measurement, and I'm going to fill it up 1 time for 1 cup. And then add that, and then I'm going to fill it up again to make 2 cups. So we've got 2 cups of flour. Our next dry ingredient is going to be a teaspoon of cinnamon. So we're going to find our 1 teaspoon measurement, and we're going to measure out and count just 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and add that in. Then the next thing we're going to add is we're going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. So we added 1 whole teaspoon of cinnamon, but we're only going to add 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and baking powder. So that means it's going to be a much smaller quantity. So we have 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/4 or 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder. So again, we're having to use those fraction skills to be able to pick out the right measuring teaspoon. Do you see how I got 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda and baking powder? So now we're gonna have to use our whisk and we're gonna have to mix together again. Now your mixture is gonna start to get a little bit thicker here. And after you mix that together for just a little while, it'll start to turn into a ball. And you have to add your 1 last ingredient is 1 single egg. So we're going to add our egg. And then we're going to mix it up, and it's going to form 1 big ball of dough. And these will be super fun because they're orange colored from that natural pumpkin. Now, as you're mixing, if your dough is not quite coming together how you thought it would, we should get a nice ball, almost like Play-Doh. If you're having trouble getting it to come together, you may need to add just a little bit more water to that mixture, and that's a-okay. As you fold it all in together, you'll notice if it's a little dry. Moms and dads can help you figure out if you need to add a little bit more water or if you need to add a little bit more flour. Mine looks a little bit dry, so I'm going to add just a little bit more water. I'm going to use that 1 teaspoon measure again and add about 1/2 of that, so that would be 1/2 of a teaspoon. You're gonna mix this together, and you might even get your hands a little dirty and pull it together with your hands. Just like this, we're gonna fold. Now you're gonna have to use those math skills again because you're gonna time it. It's gonna take about 2 minutes for you to mix this whole mixture together. So you might look at a clock and it would have to go around 2 times, so 60 seconds times 2. Wonder if you can figure out how many seconds that would be. So we use math all the time. So I've got my ball of dough here now. It's almost ready. I'm getting the last little bit of flour combined in there. And then here is where your geometry skills are going to come into play. So what you're going to do is you're going to mix that ball of dough up. You're going to take that dough out and you're going to put it out on the countertop on a light little bit of flour down on the countertop. So that you can roll this out. You're going to take your rolling pin. Now you want to roll this out till it's about the same size as a piece of printer paper. So that's about 8.5 by 11, so about 8 inches long and about 11 inches tall. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it to be relatively even all the way across. So now you get to have even more math fun. So mine's not a perfect shape, but here's where your geometry skills come in. All you're gonna do is you're gonna take a knife and you can cut your dog treats into any shape you'd like. So I might start with a triangle. I know a triangle has 3 sides, so I'm gonna cut 1, 2, 3 sides, and then I'm gonna put that on my pan with some parchment paper. Now next I might do a square, so I know that has 4 equal sides, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I have my 4 sides and 4 corners on my square. I might do a rectangle now, so I know that has 2 sides that are the same length and then 2 longer sides. I wonder which shape my dog will like the best. So I've got a rectangle. I might try a circle, which I know has no sides. That one's a little trickier for me to make because it's not straight lines, it's all those curves. So I've got a circle. I think I'm gonna do a smaller triangle. Maybe this time I'll even do a right triangle. I've got that 90-degree angle. And then that longer edge. And then you're gonna have to use those math skills again because next up you're gonna have to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. So if we look over, I am going to turn my oven on to 350 and hit start so it can preheat. Then all you do is place your dog treats into the oven for about 25 minutes until they're nice and hard. Let them come out and cool, and then you can feed them to your dog to enjoy. I hope you enjoyed your math lesson with a little bit of baking. Have a great week.